And I know that the Alto was built as, kind of a prototype machine, and there wasn't that many of them. But then y'all are tasked with building Star and kind of making it, a commercial product. Was
Yeah.
it successful as a commercial product, or how widely was it deployed?
Well, to be honest, at an engineering level, we thought it was successful because it did so much more than a mini computer of its time, right? So
Right.
a VAX mini computer would be the size of a washing machine, and it didn't have a display, and you know, the board to connect Ethernet was, was 3 feet on the side, and it was 4 times as expensive. And because of Butler Lampson's idea and Chuck's idea of compressing the hardware, we were the cat's meow in terms of cost. It
Right.
was extremely inexpensive and so powerful. It gave us all the paradigms we have today. Charles Simone wrote Bravo, the editor, which became Word when he went to Microsoft, a little unheard of program like that. Doug Bratz wrote an email program, which we're all familiar with. We didn't have browsers because there wasn't much on the internet at that point. I'll never forget the first person who tried to advertise something on the ARPANET. We were like, don't do that.
Right.
So, the Dandelion and the Xerox Star, from our perspective, were very cost effective. But from a user perspective, they were too expensive. So the Star went out at about $16,000.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure we discounted it, but in today's dollars, that would be like $40,000.
Right.
And really, you needed more than just a workstation. You needed the file server, which was another Xerox, another Dandelion with a large disk, 80 megabyte disk. You needed a print server, and they had a low-end laser printer that printed beautiful documents, one every 5 seconds or 10 seconds or so,
Right.
one page every 10 seconds. You needed communication server, a gateway server to get to the ARPANET or to another site, another Ethernet site. Maybe that was optional, but still you needed, in today's dollars, like $200,000 worth of equipment.
Right.
And most people at that time, the so-called information executives, whatever you want to call them, didn't know how to type.
Right.
And they had no idea what this weird thing is called a mouse.
Right.
And that was a freaky thing. Xerox didn't know how to announce it. I'll never forget driving down Highway 280 and hearing my first ad for a mouse on the radio from Apple. I just about drove off the highway. A mouse on the radio. So they didn't know why they needed it. And why would they spend that much money? I mean, their administrative assistants, their salaries were less than 100th the cost of this whole system.
Mm-hmm.
I could hire 100 secretaries.
Right.
And I don't know how to type. So, they only sold about 20,000 stars, I think, in the end, somewhere around there. I personally saw a large site at the NSA. They could afford it.
Right.
They were very popular in Japan. It was the first kanji workstation there.
Oh, interesting.
Voice of America used them because it was multilingual. You could have different languages, fonts.
Right.
And that I remember reading one story about that where the person from some Slavic country, we won't mention which one, was afraid he was getting radiation from the monitor, and he refused to work on them because it was pretty scary.
Right.
So it was unfortunate that it's been penned as a failure, but 20,000 for a mini computer would be considered a success. So it just didn't have the, NeXT was Apple's Lisa, which was a $12,000 at the time, $24,000 to $30,000 today.
Right.
That was too expensive. NeXT was the Apple Macintosh, $5,000 then, $6,000 then. Maybe $12,000 to $15,000 today. I mean, would you spend $15,000 for a little thing, a little tiny screen with poor graphics?
Right.
So it took a while for the IBM PC was announced the same year and month as the Xerox Star in '81. It was announced a few months later, and fine, it was inexpensive, but it set the whole world back from our perspective. It turned every male into an IT administrator. You're probably too young to remember the PC, but it had floppy disks and God knows, Charlie Chaplin were in all the ads that IBM ran, and everyone thought they needed one to be up with the world. And
Right.
it set the world back 20, 30 years in terms of an easy to use interface. I mean, the Xerox Star designers Charles Irby was one of the main people there, and oh, I can't remember all the names. Um, David Smith. By the way, there is the last demo of the Xerox Star. You can see it online. We held it in 1998. I had two dandelions working, and they were on stage,
Wow.
and they ran all the software, and you can see what that looks like online. But it was just too expensive, ahead of its time.
Was the did after that? I mean, I'm not familiar with many other machines that came out of, or many other computers that came out of Xerox. Was it just kind of determined that that wasn't the path going forward? Like, why wasn't there more iteration since y'all,
Well,
you
there
felt
was
strongly?
there actually
Okay.
was. Xerox gets blamed for not pursuing it, but they did. I mean, the next version was called Daybreak, the 8085. I had one here, but did I give it away? No, I still have it somewhere. So it was smaller, not instead of 1.5 feet wide by 4 feet tall and 3 feet, no, not 4 feet, by 3 feet tall and 3 feet deep. It was more compact.
Okay.
Basically the same architecture, just compressed a little bit. But the PC was out. People were doing spreadsheets. Finally the Star got a spreadsheet. That didn't sell that well. They then ported the user interface to a PC. I forgot what that was called, but that Global View, or something, that sold. But now all of a sudden the data is incompatible with what everybody else is doing. Right? It's not Microsoft Word and Excel, and
Right.
PowerPoint, whatever. So it never. They tried. They put effort into it, but it never. Being first doesn't always mean you win.
Right. Right.